Namaste. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. With all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. Just delighted you've joined us and bring the fullness of your being, bring the power of your commitment to practice, that presence that you have. That we come together in seemingly very different places. It's everywhere from Bali to South Carolina to around. So, but in this field of consciousness, we're all together, and that's really to be able to know that, to be able to experience that, we have to go beyond the ordinary mind, and that field of consciousness, as the Eastern traditions, mystic traditions in general, point out, it's self-luminous, it's self-aware. So though the mind in its ordinary little aspect can't know that in the fullness that consciousness knows it, because the mind is a part. It can't hold the whole, but the whole holds the part. So when we come to know the boundlessness of the truth of who we are, we don't lose individuality. We don't lose the content of ordinary mind and experience. We add to it the infinitude of being. And with that, its qualities. Buddha was great at enumerating the four immeasurables: the boundless wisdom, the boundless compassion, the boundless loving, rapturous quality, the boundless unshakable peace. These are qualities of that self-luminous awareness itself. So all our practices, all that we do here and meditative practices in general, are aimed at knowing that directly. And we start out by really invoking the highest intention that we have, that we bring to practice, that we're practicing, especially in this sort of deep sense of knowing, the deep spiritual aspect or approach to meditation. That's not the peak performance training or the stress management training, the training that's aimed at knowing the divine as the truth of all that is and the truth of who we are. So that highest intention is what we start with. And especially in the Buddhist tradition, it's really spoken about as also that we're bringing to that practice that high intention to get completely free ourselves, so that we are fully empowered to free all beings of suffering. Because it's seen that, what drives us towards practice, in part, is how do we get free of suffering? How do we get free of the suffering that's mind-born, that seems to be external, but it all reverberates within? So the practices are aimed at giving us the means to get free of suffering and opening the fullness, the greatness of heart that says, we want all beings to be free of suffering. And so our practice is dedicated to that, both of course, our own getting free, but to see and realize the power that can free all beings from suffering, that we can realize that and walk that into the world in our everyday lives, relieving suffering wherever we can. So it's not like we have to become Buddha and try and relieve world suffering for billions. We're given the capacity, we're empowered to reach out and help people who are suffering in our communities, in our families, in our country, wherever we can. And that is the same motivation. So it atones us to this profound nature of compassion. Compassion as that potent way of engaging, that we want our lives and the meaning of our lives related to the relief of suffering for all beings. So that's how we start. That's the dedication of our practice and our efforts, our contemplations, our meditations, our mantra, all the things that we're doing has that greatness of heart, that greatness of intent, because that reflects the truth of who we are, the boundlessness of our being, the boundless heart of Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, great sages and saints have realized that heart of loving kindness awareness embraces all. No one, nothing left out. So we engage in the practices in that way. including this evening. And so thank you for joining me in that. And at this time, because there are so many things going on in the world that really demand our compassion, and it can feel exhausting. And that's a key understanding in the meditative domain, because the compassion that the mind tries to generate on its own is limited. So when the great sages, saints, mystics, Buddha talked about boundless compassion, they weren't talking about mind-born compassion. That's where we start out. That puts us in alignment with the source of compassion that is boundless, inexhaustible. That's what puts us in touch with the peace and equanimity that isn't conditioned. That isn't, I'm at peace because, things have calmed down in the world and authoritarianism has been disbanded and wiped out. That'll be nice, but that's the mind has its conditioned sense of peace. I'll be at peace if and when. I have compassion if and when. I have patience if and when conditions are met. So the meditative disciplines across different mystic traditions are putting us in touch with, what's the very source of compassion that's inexhaustible. And that to know that, we have to go into the profound depths of meditation. Because it's in those depths. And when I say the depths, it's really the other side of the mind. All our experiences, everything about the mind, every thought, every feeling, every reaction, everything about how the body responds and reacts, these are all conditioned patterns. And our Western psychology has done a great job at mapping out how that happens, and everything from cognitive behavioral ways of looking at things to depth psychology and Jung's work, and all looking at the operation of mind. But it was the mystic traditions that went, okay, but what's the other side of that mind? How even the mind in its best shape is limited, is bound. This is what the yogis, the sages, and the saints were looking at. Here we go. We have to go beyond the psychology of this. Because if we're just operating to improve the nature of mind, then we're not going to get free. We want to improve the nature of mind. There wasn't for them an either or. You look at the yogic system, and you look at the yamas and the niyamas, the first limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold path of yoga, right? And they're all about how to create equanimity, how to create steadiness, how to create detachment, how to create resilience, how to improve discernment and discrimination. So they're really all aimed at improving the condition of the mind. The same in Buddha's Noble Eightfold Path. Many of the practices, in fact, all the practices really, ethical as well as meditative, are aimed at how do we transform the mind. And then there are the practices about how do we get free of the mind. Because again, even the mind in great shape is limited and binds us and makes us subject to the vagaries of mind, the vagaries of everyday life that impact the mind and body and create the ephemeral pleasures and pains of everyday life. So they were saying, basically, yes, that's the domain of the mind and body, but through literally thousands of years of exploring the nature of consciousness, they came to that direct experience. That there's a boundless field of consciousness, fully aware, that transcends and subsumes the mind and body. That's where freedom from suffering lies. And that's what, when it's informing actions of mind and body, reduces pain and suffering in the mind and body. But they realize the mind and body, no matter what, you pinch, something's going to hurt. You get an emotional impact from something going on in the world, you're going to feel it. That's the nature of this instrument. It was designed to give us that experience. But it wasn't the totality of what we're capable of knowing and experiencing. So all the practices are really aimed at introducing us just step by step by step. What's the other side of the mind? And as exalted as, many of the poet saints and many of the texts and sutras are about descriptions of boundless states, knowing that all descriptions fail. It's ineffable. It's unspeakable. And so even Buddha trying to talk about it as the four immeasurables, and that's not it. Those are what in the Zen vernacular would be, those are fingers pointing at the moon. So our words are pointing at a reality that's beyond them. And that's why symbol and metaphor is so frequently used in texts and writings and discourse about these sublime states. But what do we do when we just sit here? Because that's what we're doing when we're whether here this evening or at home. We can be inspired by those. They help us to go, oh yeah, I want to go for that. It's great. Many, many, many other human beings, even unknown, have attained those states, have come to know those and have the direct experience of that. But what do I do here and now? And so much of that has to do with, first, we calm the mind and body. We start to step back from all the content of mind and body. And so when we look at meditative practices, rather than that exalted state of meditation, the state of meditation is really the state of unity consciousness, all-encompassing, transcending and embracing all that is beyond words. That's the actual living state of meditation. In the yoga tradition, the living quality of that is called sahaja samadhi, the living samadhi. It's present all the time, as it is here and now, regardless of eyes open or eyes closed, saying a mantra, not saying a mantra, following the breath, not saying the breath. The meditative consciousness, the meditative mind, if you will, is always present. So really the practices are aimed at how do we come to know what's already there. And that has to do with entering more and more profound levels of stillness. To be still, to be silent, empty of little self, empty of identification with all the stuff of the mind. That's what makes up the little self. So one of the great sort of psychological insights of the yogic and Buddhist traditions was the mind is really just a string of content. The things that are passing through, thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, fantasies about the future, fantasies about the past. Those are what make up what the mind calls me, because it identifies with that and then becomes that and assumes that's all there is. So the psychology of yoga was looking at, there's a part of consciousness that just is aware. Just like it could be just aware that, there's a screen, there's a camera, there's a microphone, there's sound. Just bare awareness that those stimuli exist. Then comes along what they called ahamkara, the little I maker, the aspect of the mind that says, that's not just a perception of a screen. That's me perceiving the screen. So it adds me. It adds a little I to everything. That's where we get the I, me, mine, mine. Everything that is going on through the mind has that add-on to it that comes from this component of the mind called the little I maker. So it says, what's it going to identify? Also, what's not identify? That's not me. So it does that as well. Or I'd like it to be me. Let me go after it. That's what it does as well. So here we are sitting trying to meditate, and all that stuff is going on. So that's what we're really starting to illuminate in meditation is, all that dynamics that are going on of all the stuff going by in the mind stream. If we think of it as a stream, and that all the content, that whatever that is, a thought, a feeling, a memory, a wish, a desire, anything, the feeling of your big toe, any of that stuff is just stuff in the mind stream. So as we practice that kind of detached awareness and start to view the content like that, we're already beginning to be able to be detached from it. We're starting to realize awareness can look at content without being identified with it. That's already a degree of freedom. That's already a degree of reducing suffering. Then if we enter that mind stream with a mantra, we say, okay, there's too much content. The mind is a content generator. It'll do it nonstop from the time you wake up until the time you fall asleep and exhausted, all day long. So lots of content. So you say, well, what happens in the depths of meditation? They began hearing sounds, be able to vocalize those sounds. Well, that was mantra. Now, that's the mantras that arise from beyond the mind. The root mantra, Om, that gives birth to Hamsa, 2 syllables, or Soham, right? And then from 2 comes 3, comes 5, comes many, right? So then we have Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Ma. But these were heard and continue to be heard to this day. I've heard them in meditation countless times. They're just arising. They're called self-arising. And because they arise from beyond the mind, they can take us beyond the mind. But our culture and everything about everyday life focuses on content of mind. So content from beyond the mind seems ridiculous, but there it is. And millions have experienced it across thousands of years. And so it's, in a sense, it's like an experiment that's been replicated. It's like a longitudinal study that the results of doing certain practices, following a protocol, doing the experiment, you get certain reliable results. You get a transformation in consciousness, a transformation in mind, and access to a state that's beyond them. So that's been proven over and over again. But the yogic and Buddhist and mystic traditions say, but every individual has to prove that for themselves. It does you no good for me to have experienced anything and be able to try and talk about it. May be inspiring, might help you say, oh, all right, it's possible. This guy can do it. Anybody should be able to do it. So that's the point. But the point is, each one of us has to be able to enter that and follow the protocol, follow the steps, follow the recipe to be able to come to know that state. But it's a recipe that takes time, takes repeated effort over time, takes repeated effort during the day. So it's a very demanding practice. And for, many, many centuries, it was thought that it was only available to monks in monasteries who dedicated all their life to that. And then it became, some thousands of years ago, realizing that, no, there were individuals living in the world following practices and doing it. So that rather than monastic sadhana, we called householder sadhana. Practices done as a householder, but done with that kind of dedication that embraces every moment as a time for practice, that it has nothing to do with whether you're in a monastery or in your house, apartment, condominium, out hiking, whatever it is. Your state of mind is what you're always working with. And how to transform that is the key, and that's what the meditative practice is empowering us to do. So what I want to do now is just a guided meditation for a bit. And what I'd like you to do is just allow yourself to get into a comfortable meditation posture, whatever that might be, preferably if it's upright, if you can. But there's people who need to, because of their back or whatever it might be, to lay down. Shavasana, a lying posture is fine, laying down. But you want to stay conscious, right? So an upright posture that's comfortably erect supports wakefulness. So if we have a laying down posture, we just have to make a little bit more effort to support wakefulness. Because a conditioned pattern for the body and mind is when they become profoundly relaxed, they go to sleep. That's another conditioned pattern. That's a conditioned pattern that every meditator deals with. How to stay awake and be profoundly relaxed. But that's just a pattern. It's not wrong if we fall asleep. Sleep is another thought wave pattern, right? So when the yogi said, oh, so in the waking state, there's all kinds of thoughts and feelings and memories and stuff. Dream state, oh, now there's less thought waves, patterns involved in the outside world, but we may be in a dream state that has a fullness to it, like the waking state world. But we know it's a dream. So it's all happening within, nothing outside at all. Then we pass through that into deep sleep. And now the yogis went, oh, so when you bring consciousness to deep sleep, you see it's just the continuous awareness of nothingness. So the yogis were saying, oh, actually, we want to be aware through all the three states. So the content of mind in those three states, it's just another thing to witness, another thing to watch, to simply be in bare awareness. So now, as you sit there, you've gotten yourself into a comfortable sitting posture. You want to allow your hands to find a comfortable place to rest. It can be on your legs, so it could be one hand over the other hand. And you're just now, it's just allowing the body to settle. And you start with simply noticing the flow of the breath. So as you're sitting there, you're feeling, without interfering, you're simply feeling the flow of the breath coming in and going out. Just noticing the flow of the breath coming in and going out. Simultaneously, you're noticing how the body feels. Do you need to make any little adjustment for your shoulders or your neck or your feet or your legs? This is just the initial phase of setting up the body so that it can be at ease and not interfering with the mind as it's settling and quieting. Because discomfort in the body agitates the mind. So we want the body to be relaxed and at ease. And you're just noticing that. You're also noticing with the breath that you can invite the breath to slow and deepen. You don't have to force it. It's just an open invitation that the breath can slow and deepen. And so the mind is just following that flow of the breath. To begin with, it's just resting on the breath. Resting on the breath like a feather on the breeze. The mind feels the breath all the way as it comes in, feels the breath all the way through as it goes out. So we're inviting the mind to just gently focus on the flow of the breath. Each breath, all the way through. And of course, given the nature of the mind, it may begin to wander off with a thought. You let the thought go and just come back to the breath, wherever it might be, on the inhalation or the exhalation. So this fundamental dynamic of shifting attention. We're shifting attention away from the stream of the mind to the flow of the breath, having our attention follow the breath all the way through each cycle, feeling the rounds of the breath. And as the breath slows and deepens, the body recognizes it. There's a time for completely letting go, the slowing and the deepening of the breath begins to change our physiology, even our neurophysiology. So we're just following the breath, the mind resting on the breath, letting go of all other concerns, all other thoughts, to just rest on that flow of the breath. Detached and aware, relaxed and at ease, just watching the flow of the breath. And the bare awareness is following the flow of the breath. And the wisdom of the body, it knows how to let go and let go. Muscles can soften, warm, and relax without any effort. That's the natural wisdom of the body for breathing and letting go. The mind just following that flow of the breath, learning from the body how to let go effortlessly, just as the body effortlessly expels with every exhalation what it needs to be rid of, and then takes in with every inhalation what sustains the life in every cell of the body, without thought, without effort. The mind is just following the flow of the breath, resting in the wisdom of the body, learning effortlessly, letting go and letting go. And the body lets go quite naturally. The mind lets go by shifting away from a thought or a feeling, any of its ordinary content. Lets it go to come back to just the sensation of the breath, the rise and fall of your abdomen and chest, the gentle flow of air through your nose or mouth. The mind just follows those sensations, letting go of all else, settling, and more detached and at ease. Relaxed and aware, and just watching. And you're watching the flow of the breath. Awareness. It's that light of awareness that illuminates the sensations of the breath coming in and going out. The light of awareness that illuminates the mind, letting go of this thought or memory, coming back to the breath, being present here and now, as the breath itself is present here and now. So it helps to anchor the mind in this moment. And by doing that, it's able to let go of all of the past, all of the future. Simply be present here, now, watching the flow of the breath. Body and mind invited to settle more and more deeply. Awareness, luminous, radiant. What illuminates what the mind is doing. what illuminates the body and its sensations. We're detached and aware, becoming aligned with that radiant awareness itself, an awareness that illuminates, free of any reactions, free of the content of the mind or the body. The same way that the luminous sun shines on all that's happening on the earth and free of it completely and doesn't react to anything. So our inner light of awareness illuminates everything about the mind, everything about the body, in a place of unshakable peace, ease, watching, simply watching the flow of the breath, detached and aware, watching it, coming in and going out, awareness, simply watching. Awareness illuminating the whole body, head to toe, front and back. Awareness like a cloud of light, a cloud of awareness that holds the whole body, illumines the flow of the breath, the beating of the heart, the circulation in the body. Oh, awareness holds it all, illuminates it all. Just watching, simply aware, bare awareness. We call it bare awareness because it's been stripped of all reactivity, all thoughts, all commentary, simple awareness, self-luminous, free. It illuminates the entire body. Awareness fully present, here and now. You are that cloud of awareness. I am that awareness. Detached, free, self-luminous. The awareness, simply watching the flow of the breath, watching the state of the body. Watching the stream of the mind, the same awareness, detached and at ease, watching the flow of the breath, watching the stream of the mind. Bare awareness, free, just watching, regardless of what mind or body might be doing. Awareness is always present, simply illuminating, illuminating with loving compassion, kindness and patience. Watch it, free reactivity and judgment, awareness, unbounded. Just watch. Watch the flow of the breath. Watch the stream of the mind. Awareness, unmoved by movements of body or mind. Awareness, unshakable, steady, all embracing, all seeing, fully present, illuminating that stream of the mind, illuminating the flow of the breath. Just watch. Just watch. Detached and at ease, relaxed and aware, just watching. The light of awareness, the light of being, boundless and free. Looking at mind and body, loving compassion. Just watching the flow of the breath, the stream of the mind. Becoming aware of awareness itself. Becoming aware of the light of consciousness that illuminates the stream of the mind and the flow of the breath. Just watching. Detached and at ease, relaxed and aware, resting on the ground of being. Self-luminous awareness, always present, illuminates the content of mind, illuminates the mind becoming identified with a thought, a feeling, a memory. So when we become identified with something, then our awareness shrinks and contracts. That which illuminates that is always present. Just shift to a luminous awareness, boundless and free, illuminating whatever the experience is, whatever's in the content of the mind, including sensations of body, awareness, self-luminous, envelops it all. Shift your attention to the light of awareness itself, over and over, the awareness of I am that, sa. I am that light of awareness. I am the consciousness, sa. And the breath comes in with the sound goes out with the sound sa. So we can use that to help further ground the awareness of mind in the reality of being. As the breath comes in, silently. Sa. As the breath goes out, silently. The repeated awareness of I am that. I am that which illuminates all. I am that which has become all. I am that which transcends all. I am that. Sa. Oh, rest in that. That's the ground of being. That's where freedom from the suffering of mind and body lies. In that pure awareness. I am. Rest there. Shivaya. Om Namah 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 Shivaya. So we end with this prayer. May all our practices truly benefit all beings. May all beings know complete freedom from suffering. So all the merit, all the goodness, everything that comes from our practice here and now, at home, may we dedicate that to all beings, knowing complete freedom from suffering. And namaste. Now entering into the stillness of meditation. Just gradually stepping down, as we step back and away from all the automaticity of the mind, becoming identified with this and that. It doesn't even think about becoming identified. It's just identified. Thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations, all the stuff. So no wonder it takes some time to step back, to become more detached, more spacious, to reclaim that boundless spaciousness of being, awareness being, that holds the mind, holds all minds, holds all creation. That's the boundless infinitude of being that we can come to know as we get free of the mind. To just give yourself that gift of being able to settle more and more deeply into meditation, and to feel that sort of sacred retreat space in our own home, that we are householders. This is where we do our sadhana in everyday life, in our homes, in our professions, in our work, in our relationships, in our family. So it helps to be able to integrate that, we can do these practices and go into the depths of them right where we are. Because the truth is always right where we are, always here and now. The infinitude of that consciousness, that light of consciousness, illuminates every moment of all day, all night. It illuminates everything about this waking state. It illuminates everything about the dream state, the deep sleep state. That luminosity of pure being, inescapable. That's the ground of being. And to know that is to know the refuge where freedom from suffering rests. So we enter that refuge to know that absolute freedom from suffering. The mind and body suffer. So we get clear. That's part of what the experience of these vehicles are. But it's not the experience of the fullness of consciousness. The fullness of consciousness adds those boundless qualities of unshakable peace and equanimity, unshakable joy, unperturbed stillness, all those, the boundless love, the boundless compassion, the wisdom that illuminates our experience, that arises from the source of our own being. That's all accessible in the state, the living state of meditation, that we can live that and know that moment by moment. And, I want to thank you for coming this evening and bringing the power of your presence, the fullness of your being, the power of your practice, and being committed to doing practice and living that into the world. And your life, your relationships, your community, your work, wherever we go, we carry that greatness of heart, expansiveness of being, clarity of vision. So thank you for being ones doing that. So necessary at this time. And then I look forward to seeing you all again in 2 weeks. Jai Ma.